Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I'm going to talk about how I like to dehydrate beans, snow peas, that's green beans that is, carrots, and rhubarb. Now this isn't to say it's the only way to do it, it's just the way I do it. There's all kinds of ways to preserve and dehydrate foods, but we're all going to have our different ways that we like to do things that are going to suit us best. So I'm going to show you my way, plus a few options, and then you can decide whether or not this option is best for you. Alright, so let's get to it. First, let me show you what I have here. So here are some of my green beans, and if you look in there, you'll see some darker beans, and those are actually the purple potted pole beans. I did actually get a few of them this year. Usually they do really well for me, but this year only one of my plants made it through. I'm not sure why, but my runner beans are doing great, and that's wonderful. And then here are just some of my carrots from my garden that I've dehydrated. That's all I've done so far, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And here is some rhubarb I did back in 2013. And here is one of my almost complete jars of snow peas. I'm still going to dehydrate up a few more to put in there, and then I'll vacuum seal it and put it up for the rest of the year, so I'll have them to use throughout the year. Now the first thing I'm going to do is show you how I cut up and put the green beans on the trays. But the first thing I want to say is that with none of this do I blanch. I do not blanch anything ever anymore when it comes to freezing or dehydrating. To me, it's just an extra unnecessary step that I think is a waste of time. Now, somebody had seen my jar that I showed in my last this and that video of my green beans and was pretty sure by the color of them that I was blanching them. Nope, I don't blanch. So one of the first things I do is just kind of look through and make sure I didn't end up with any stems. I did have a few on there, though typically when I pick the beans, I do like I do with the snow peas, and I just take my fingernail and then snap it off there and leave the stem on the vine. And then I just pile them together. So you can see I've got my purple beans and my runner beans in here all together. Now one thing that's interesting about your purple potted pole beans is when you cook them, they will turn green. They're only purple when they're fresh. And when they dehydrate up, they still have a little bit of purple in them, as you can see right there. However, typically they just, when they cook, when they get heated at all, they will just turn green. They just end up being a darker green than the rest of your green beans. And then I just chop them like this. I don't worry about these little ends. The only reason these are cut off for canned beans that you buy at the store is for the sake of looks. It's all a part of the green bean. There's nothing wrong with it. So I cut it up like that. And then I just spread it around on my dehydrator trays. Just like this. Okay, and now I'm going to cut up the rest and get those on the tray, and then we'll go on to the next step. Alright, and there's my full tray of green beans ready to go on my dehydrator. So let me set that aside. Okay, now for the rhubarb. Same thing. I like to cut, I usually try to get these rough edges off. And I might just eat that. I actually don't mind eating rhubarb raw. So I just cut them about like that. Okay, again, no blanching. I just spread them around on my dehydrator tray. Okay, so you can see the size of these and the way I've got them cut. Okay, well I still have a lot of room left on the tray, so I'll probably go out and get a couple more stalks of rhubarb and put them on there so I can get those dehydrated up. And let me talk just a little bit about the rhubarb. Now, years ago, when I first was trying this, I did the way that was recommended when I was looking it up online, and that was blanching them first. But what I ended up with was just a sticky, nasty mess. And a lot of them, you can see one in here, because this is actually a mix of the ones that I dehydrated without blanching and the ones that I did blanch. And the ones on the top are the ones I blanched. Now, it does seem like the color held better by blanching them, but you can see right here, I ended up with these mushy pieces that just, you know, they just kind of spread out and they stuck to the trays, and it was just a mess. I said, I'm not doing this again. And yet these pieces stayed nice and loose. They held their shape. They dried up nice. And I did try, I think I mentioned it in a this and that video about their dehydrated rhubarb. I did take some out and rehydrated it in my solar oven with a little bit of rainwater, and then added it to I think it was a blackberry pie I was making. I made a blackberry rhubarb pie, and it turned out great. So even without blanching, the only thing with blanching is it might retain its color on the rhubarb just a little bit better, but it still rehydrates up great. It's a lot easier, and I just think it's better all the way around. I think blanching, for the most part, I have yet to find anything where I find it actually useful for or beneficial. So I do the same thing with the snow peas. I do not blanch them, just like when I freeze them. I do not blanch them. I just cut them up just like you saw me do with the green beans, spread them on the trays, and then dehydrate them. Now, what you want to know is heat is going to make a difference. So maybe the reason why my green beans are holding their color better is that I've learned to start setting my dehydrator at a lower temperature. A lot of times you'll see, especially if you have Nesco, they might say vegetables at 135 or something like that. I find going about 115 for your temperature for your dehydration and no higher than 125 to be the best for all your vegetables. They're just going to retain their color better. They just turn out better. Yes, it's going to take longer for them to dehydrate than at the higher temperature, but I tend to, when I set anything at that higher temperature, I've had problems with it warping my some of my trays, including the clean screens that you put in there, and that would tell me that's probably a little too hot. And those who are concerned about the plastic and it getting into their food, then if it's going to melt your trays and cause them to warp or whatever, then that's telling me it's too hot. And that applies to no matter the new dehydrators, not just my old one. I thought maybe it was just my old one because it was getting old. No, they all will do that if I set it too high. So, you know, at the higher temperature as is recommended on the dehydrator itself. So I would say 115 to 125, no higher than that. I don't think you should dehydrate anything on your Nesco any higher than 125. Now, the carrots, I'm not going to show you that today, but I'm not going to actually show you how to chop them up, but I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple of pictures. So right here is a photo of the carrots after I got them sliced up and put on the tray. And then here's a photo of how they looked after they were done. Same tray of carrots. So, and that's them right here. This is that full tray, just one tray of carrots. And you can see it's only filled up my jar just a little bit. Now I do plan on doing more. I would like to get this jar full. I still have carrots out there to harvest, and even if the carrots I have, by the time I get them all dried up, because I'm using some of them right away too, like adding them to stir fries or just eating them fresh because they're so good right out of the garden. But even if I get them all dehydrated out of the garden, I'll just take some of the organic ones I buy from the store and add them to that, because I do like having dehydrated carrots on hand. They're probably my favorite way to use carrots is dehydrated, because they're so easy to throw into soups and stuff like that. Okay, and that's it. It's really that simple. Again, there's really no need to blanch. Now, if you prefer to do it that way and you think you like the flavor and the way everything turns out better, well, go ahead and do that. There's nothing wrong with it. I just find the flavor turns out great without blanching. I don't get mushy vegetables, and they dehydrate up beautifully. They turn out crispy and nice, and without having to take that extra step and using that extra energy. Now, before I finish up, some of you may have seen me using the chicken cutting board that Mr. Rain made, and he does offer these on the store, and I thought it was cute. He actually burns their little logo into each side of the cutting board. And I'm more partial to chicken, so I really liked the chicken. So if you're interested in any of Mr. Rain's cutting boards or other wood items, you can go ahead and check out our Etsy store. I do link to it. Is usually the first end card you'll see pop up here in the corner at the end screen, and also the first link you'll see in our description box. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video on dehydrating green beans, carrots, and rhubarb, and what else? Oh, snow peas. And that you'll give it a try if you haven't yet. And if you have a different way that you like to dehydrate or even just preserve your green beans and carrots and snow peas and rhubarb, go ahead and tell us in comments below so that we could get some ideas from you. And how do you use your dehydrated vegetables? What are your favorite ways to use them? Do you rehydrate them before you cook with them, or do you just throw them right into your meals as is? I usually, for myself, just throw them right in because I'm usually adding them to something that already has liquid. But I have rehydrated on occasion first, like when I'm using in stir fries. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.